the small businesses are looking for, right? Access to bigger things. And I think I missed it, or I didn't hear it that clearly, but it's a monthly fee that the small business pays to you guys, or an annual?
It's a biannual fee.
Biannual. So I think one of the things you touched on a little, the amount of information that you can give back to the small business is going to be huge in terms of how many people are using it, so they can do, the analysis of, is this a good thing for us, right? And so, it's different if a guy's selling a sandwich versus a car, right? So the economic data that you can give back to them to say, you paid me $500 a month, but you really had an economic benefit of something larger is important. So think about that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. So I love the idea, and I thought the presentation was great. All you guys did phenomenal. I'm
Yeah,
so impressed with all
absolutely.
these presentations. Some questions. First of all, the comment about our company doesn't make sense unless blank. I totally encourage all you guys to take that approach. If your company doesn't make sense, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you got to know that it makes sense. So that was it's really good that you're thinking practically that way. There's always assumptions in all these things. You have 84% assumption based on that's who's already doing these incentive programs.
Those are people that are at this time, retail stores that are at this time creating an incentive plan or a program to help streamline some form of target market.
Yeah, I'm interested in, you may not have the data in front of you or committed to memory, but that coupled with your $200, $400, $600 fee, I imagine some of that 84% is probably free. And so these assumptions are really critical. And for all of these, for every one of these things, having a sense of what the base rate of success is, what can we reasonably expect if we're just average, and starting there, and then saying, why are we going to be better or not as good as the average? And so tying that out to what is your fee. If your fee is above the average, then you might expect a lower percentage. If your fee's below the average fee, you might expect a higher success rate. But I would tie those things out, because to me the $400 sounds like a large downstroke for a small business.
Yeah, right.
A couple of things, maybe a little bit counter. So I agree with some of my colleagues here in terms of small businesses looking access into corporations. I'm not sure corporations necessarily want small businesses coming in, especially you mentioned before about solicitation. So how you go connect with those corporations is, we didn't talk about that. And then in some cases, corporations have office admins or administration team that's responsible for getting these services, especially if they open up a new campus and they want to make sure that, the employees are getting the benefit. But you might want to think through that, because, our example, in our case, a couple of places, we tend to prefer that, small businesses don't come solicit, right, the employees. That's one piece. The other thing you talked about, communication back to the corporate employees, you're going to send out mass emails. Most corporations will not give you the email address. So you have to figure out how you're going to go target those employees without, because there's a privacy issues and stuff like that.
We're not planning on sending it directly. We supply the corporation with the
Okay.
emails that send to
Okay,
the
all right,
employees.
that's good. And then you are going to collect, so does an employee have to register on your app for you to get their data?
Yes, like we said with the card, with each card there's going to be a code, and the code is going to register them, and that registry is going to, every time they use it, there's going to be a scanner on their phone and on the card, and every time it does that, it's going to log in.
They have to sign an agreement that you can share their data with,
Yes.
okay.
The corporation has to.
But the individual has to, because the individual's data, right?
I would assume so. I absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, because that's where your business model is dependent on. Just think through all of those things in terms of practically how is that gonna work.
But I would
It's
say,
great
do we have any,
presentation.
I'm sorry, do we have any questions for them? Because this is critical for you guys
Yeah.
deciding on their MVP, and we gotta kind of stick with.
Yeah, no, that's right.
As a personal employee who would use something like this, why do you think we need a card? I'm just curious, because you have the app, so, I mean, as a user, I don't want to carry more cards. Like, what made you guys think about that?
The card is a complete choice. It's more of, it's based on when there's a physical thing attached to a non-tangible thing, such as the app, it increases the amount that non-tangible thing is used by about 3 times. So it's just a constant reminder to have. People don't have to have it on their wallet, but if they do perchance, they're probably not using the card. They're seeing that the card is there, just constantly reminding them subliminally that they have it. So it's reminding them they have the option.
So that was actually one of the questions that I have. Another question, and I don't know if you guys if this was in any of the research, what was the thinking behind the pricing model? And, you know, did you talk to corporations about whether or not they would pay? And did you talk to small businesses? Because it seems to be a very big cost for them to both produce a discount and to pay twice a year. So if you could answer, you know, some of those research questions.
So, we did interviews with small businesses, and we asked them, like, we started with a price of 400, or, oh, sorry, 200? Wait, we started with 400, and most of them, it was like, all but one, I think, said they would pay it. But obviously that's an interview, so they're like, it's just asking them, and that's not like necessarily like when we come to them and say, well, you said you would, they're not necessarily gonna pay that. So we decide with the tier pricing, and we know that corporations don't wanna pay because, like we said earlier, like they already are paying employees, and they, like, why are they gonna pay more for their employees to have a discount? Like, it didn't make sense for that, like, what we thought when we talked about it.
Okay, so just to see if that question was answered. So you went to the corporation, the one corporation, and they said that they would not pay.
We didn't ask them about it.
Okay.
Corporations don't pay in any way, shape, or form. It's
That's
our
the-
Okay,
service
okay.
is offered for free.
Oh, right, in your model, but you also didn't research that either. You didn't go to a corporation and say, would you pay for this? But the small businesses that you asked, they all said that they would pay for it. Did you also ask them, or were they aware that they would not only be paying for a membership, they also have to provide a discount?
Yeah.
And they were willing to do that as well?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
there's no charge directed at corporations, as well as we do have one corporation that gets signed up.
Which corporation is that?
Ascend, it used to be United Station.
Do you know how many employees they have?
I think in the local thing, they have about 800 to 1,000. And actually, we had, when we did the interviews, we had one small business that said, they were actually really interested. They said, oh, when you guys have this done, come to us because we'd like to sign up.
That's where I'm going this afternoon.
So for the MVP, what are you proving out then? Can you go back to that slide?
We have 1 more minute.
So
Yeah,
what
right.
we're doing is we're building a concept with letter of intent, just if whether or not they're interested, it's just a station that they are, is to create the background for the app. So we're focusing on the website because you can always make an app that just reroutes you to a website. And it is to be able to make a database.
Can you go back to the numbers though? So why do you have to have the cards?
The card isn't part of it.
Oh, I thought it was one of your costs in there. No. No.
Go.
Would the
Go to
website
your
be
cost.
functional as part of the MVP?
Oh, okay.
Business
It does,
cards.
business cards.
Yeah,
Oh,
It was just a transfer.
I see. Okay, business cards.
Have
Okay.
you given any thought to exclusivity among your businesses?
Yes, sorry, I did not bring that up. There is exclusivity as a perk for them. We were going to limit, depending on the corporation size, 1 to 2, so if we did Grader's Ice Cream here in Northbrook, we wouldn't do Baskin Robbins and Gilbert Fruits, we would stick with that, and that is just, that's a way to incentivize them towards a target market that they're competitors, the direct competitors, let them know what we're going to connect.
And why'd you choose a 6-month commitment?
A 6-month commitment because originally we had that the discount they offered would be solid, so it would be a straight through that they couldn't change it. So they would offer that, and it just that allows them to some flexibility if trends seem to change for something else that they want to do. It allows them to do that. Also, biannual is the amount. We do one event every time they resign because new companies will sign up and some companies will of course resign, and so we want to be able to introduce them again to the employees.
You don't get off that easy. The exclusivity is, you gotta go back and look at your numbers. Because you're using a model based on a number of businesses, correct? And you're taking what you think you can penetrate.
Yes.
But if you're only gonna allow one dry cleaner, right, that's the problem, right?
Then you can
So
further break it down by.
What you need to do is go back and rethink. I asked the question because it's a loaded question, the exclusivity, but
yeah.
it's a good thing,
think these are all
you know,
right.
to
Okay.
pick around.
Okay, good.
At some level, maybe that's what you're pricing or how that's directed, but,
Okay, thank you so much, you guys. Thank you.